run to win. That's why I'm registering today.
Okay, so taxes. What kind of tax increase do you foresee for then, let's say 2011, if you were there?
You will see a tax increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you be a little more?
And you will see a tax increase that will be close to inflation. The challenge that we have in front of us, this year, for example, we will be debating whether or not to have a 2% levy to deal with infrastructure. We have an infrastructure deficit. People understand that if infrastructure is allowed to deteriorate, that's not a good thing, and it's going to cost money to deal with it. So you have two elements. You have the ongoing daily work of your city government and trying to accommodate the pressures of inflation. And within City Council, we impose efficiency targets on our staff to try and mitigate that impact on the tax bill. Because no one wants to pay more in taxes than they have to. Something I learned a long time ago. However, you do come across issues that cost money that you're going to have to deal with in your term. The cost of implementing the Green Bin program, for example. That's a new service. Adding paramedics, that's a new service. And when you add a new service, it doesn't come for free. What citizens want is value for their tax dollars. What I'm talking about is reasonable costs, as close to inflation as you can get. We'll have that debate with our community, but I'm not afraid to go to the community and say, look, if this is what it takes to ensure that we don't put sewage into our river, then are you with me? And you have that debate, I think you'll find at the end of the day, they're willing to support those good works. I am reminded, over 150 years ago, the debate at City Council about whether to put in piped water. Families, children were dying of typhoid. We had typhoid epidemics time and time again because the well waters in the city were polluted, or poisoned. And City Council was very loath to put any money in this newfangled, very expensive infrastructure called piped water. Oh man, we cannot support it, the city fathers of the day would say. And it took businesses, doctors, the community to pressure the City Council to make the investment. They were willing to pay the tax. Maybe we're not talking about something as life-threatening as typhoid, but we are talking about making investment in public transit. We are talking about making investment in social housing. We're talking about making investment in recycling. We're talking about making investment in a number of issues. We can't do everything all at once. People understand that. Our City Council understands that. But you have to have that debate with the public. And for reasonable services that people want, people understand it's going to cost money. I have never been afraid to say that. In 2004, I was the only city councillor to run on a platform of raising taxes. Everyone else on council ran on the mantra of holding the line on taxes. Not even zero means zero. Just holding the line on taxes. And in 2004, even after cutting $80 million from our budget, we came in with, I think it was a 2.9% tax increase. Because there was a limit to which the public was going to accept cuts to services. And even some of the cuts that that council put in place in public transit, a year later they had to reverse. It is a fine balancing act, an absolutely fine balancing act, and I recognize it. But I've been part of this balancing act on this council for the past 10 years, for more than 15 years. I have 15 years experience in dealing with balanced budgets. And I find it's a very effective way to deliver city services. But I also find you have to engage the public in the budget discussion because it's their taxes.
Alex, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, how would you, do you think you can engage the public in talk of lobbying and transparency in government? Is that a high priority for them?
I think it's a concern of theirs. I won't say it's their number one priority, but it's definitely a concern of theirs. They're not happy when they see the government they're elected become beholden to special interest groups. For example, the Lansdowne Live debate, which is controversial in this town. There are those who do not live in the Glebe, don't live in Ottawa, Old Ottawa South, who are concerned about the players' engagement in this, how we can give land for 30 years to a commercial group rent-free, to enable them to make money for their bottom line. People are concerned about how these decisions are being made. And I think rightfully so. This is not a small town. This is a big city. There's a $2.1 billion operation. That's a lot of money floating around. And when you look at who contributes to election campaigns, corporations don't contribute because of philanthropists. You don't see Tim Hortons making a contribution. You don't see Walmart making a contribution. You don't see Loblaws making a contribution, or Canadian Tire. But you do see the major players whose major business is with City Hall. I think that distorts the political process. I think we should make it clean. And you see that the City of Toronto has already adopted legislation to stop corporate and union contributions. That's already happened for the province of Manitoba, the province of Quebec. It's already happened federally. They seem to survive quite well. I've been able to get elected without the use of corporate and union contributions.
That's going to be a lot harder on the mayoral level.
Well, you know, it's a challenge, but quite frankly, I look forward to this. I mean, I'm going to be elected by voters. What better way to find support amongst voters? Talk about ideas and say, if you believe in these ideas, then you're going to have to help me put them into place. You're going to have to help me get elected.
Alex, I have a transit question.
Sure.
I take the bus at least 2 or 3 times a day and I have very bad legs. What are you going to do with Amalgamated Transit to make sure I'm not walking another 53 days soon? How are you going to work with Amalgamated to make sure we never have another strike?
Well, certainly, I would like to try to convince the union to adopt the regime that we have here with PP 503, which is to send off contract elements that are in dispute to arbitration. We have offered this to them once as a council. Their membership have voted it down. But I think with patience and leadership, we can get that agreement. What I can tell you, because I've heard it reported in the media, that the current mayor has said, if he were to be mayor again, we don't know if he is a candidate or not, that under his watch there would never be a strike at Christmas because he would lock the drivers out. I find that amazing, astonishing, and absolutely repugnant. To use the public as pawns in a labor dispute. The public doesn't care if they're locked out or the drivers are on strike. The result is the same. There are no buses running. I can tell you that under my administration, there will be no lockout. We have the tools before us to reach settlements. Over 95% of all contract negotiations in this country arrive at a settlement. Since World War II, we've only had 2 strikes from ATU here in the city of Ottawa. And we will not have another under my administration.
What's your, you talked about a left-wing candidate, so you labeled yourself that way, and in a way, but I'm wondering about the growth potential, because often in a race it's all about the growth. You have a solid base, but do you think you have enough growth to become here?
Well, I can tell you that I wasn't elected on the basis of left-wing support as city councillor. The people who supported me span all political spectrums. They vote Conservative, they vote Liberal, they vote NDP. At the municipal level, voters are voters. I've been a progressive candidate, yes, but I've been elected by people who respect the values I bring, the energy I bring, and the priorities that I bring. And I expect to do the same thing again here at the mayoral level. It's pretty basic. I have services. I'm going to talk about services that people want. And I'm going to talk about the means of getting there. And people are going to have a choice. There are going to be choices in this election. And my approach will be to talk to the values that I believe resonate with the public. And building a city that's clean, green, and safe, I think I'm going to resonate with the public on that. But when you go below those words and talk about specifics, because that's going to be the test. Anyone can come out with easy slogan. I'm going to hold the line